Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 8 of Roshidere, or Alia Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Boy howdy, so last we left off, there was going to be a debate. And, introductory teacher screenings. Oh, that's interesting that they would debate on a specific topic rather than on a variety of issues. But, that's sort of like the big thing that happened in the previous episode. Essentially, someone just walked up to Alia, called her a floozy, and challenged her to a debate while also insulting Kuze and calling him fickle and, a bunch of other things like that. So essentially, we're locked into this whole student council politics thing, which I guess while this is a little bit more interesting than just sort of thinking about campaigning, it strikes me that we're not really having much in the way of anyone hiding their feelings in Russian. And I don't know. Not to give away my feelings too much, this isn't quite the rom-com I thought it would be. It's not really capitalizing on the premise. There are other rom-coms that do things and focus on stuff with the rom-com being more ancillary, for want of a better term, but I feel like, I don't know. I haven't felt that it's been so detrimental as it has been in this case. Not that I even dislike Roshidere or anything, but I don't know. I feel like there should be a little bit more focus on Alia saying things in Russian and maybe, Kuze trying to pretend that he doesn't understand. I guess the idea is they're concerned about that other girl and, whether or not she might be on poor terms with Kuze, which frankly, it seems like she is, no matter how you slice it, but Kuze is hoping it's just politics here, but I don't know. In my experience, little though it may be, personal stuff does tend to bleed into politics more often than anyone would like to admit. So, Alia's realizing that she is, for all intents and purposes, the cause of all the current problems. However, she's choosing to be kind of passive about it, not really saying anything and feeling bad about it. I guess it's an unfortunate case where she's not being nearly as forthright as she could be. I guess that's kind of the crux of the story, right? She can't be straightforward with how she feels, so it only makes sense. Now, this girl here, I'd imagine she's the running mate of the other girl, but it's interesting that she knows Kuze. Yeah. Nonoa. That's an interesting name. But she's the running mate, so if there were a debate going on, it would be her against Kuze, but seeing as how he's just sort of along for the ride, I feel like she's not really going to be doing anything. Oh. Okay, so that's interesting. Taniyama's running mate is her best friend, who's sort of an opposite to her. I'm noticing a pattern here. You know, that seems to be what every candidate is trying to do, trying to get their childhood friend to run, whether they're, you know, truly a friend or a sibling or what have you. So the question is, this seems like it's like an actual defined, structured debate with an actual topic, so I doubt it's going to get into, like, political mudslinging. Frankly, that would be the most entertaining outcome, but just the way things are being presented, I don't think that's going to be the case, much to the show's detriment. So understandably, Alia's concerned. You know, people weren't listening to her in, like, a little squabble between clubs. You know, why would they listen to her here? And frankly, I don't think people are actually doubting her that outright. I think that's her imagination, but you know, given how she is, what? Why would he just ask what her cup size is? Like, okay. Alright, I mean, I guess it's good to know, it's good information to store away for later. However, like, what's the 4D chess here? You know, distract her with something salacious? I mean, I feel like he's badgering the wrong team, so to speak. If anything, you should be asking the opponent a bunch of indecent questions to sort of throw her off her game. You know, if I were a scheming vice president-to-be, I would want to definitely sabotage the other team insofar as I could get away with it. I mean, this is politics after all. You know, playing fairly is, I mean, not verboten, but like, you know, if you're a politician, you're not an honest person, really. So, like, what's the deal here? Do they have to take opposing views on the topic by necessity? Because I feel like, depending on the topic at hand, that's a real good way to be forced into a losing position. Okay, I know what's going on here. So essentially they're arguing in favor of teachers screening student council members, because as of right now, that's not the case. And something about this seems kind of pointed at Kuze specifically, seeing as how he was just asked to join and then did so. So, I'm of the opinion, personally, that Taniyama's kind of wrong here. Because, like, what's the point of student council elections if teachers can just veto everything, really? Like, it seems like you might as well just have teachers appointed to begin with. And, you know, interestingly, she's saying this will allow for the truly talented, and again, in my experience, that would not be the case either. You know, the teacher's favorites would be installed into the student council, which are not necessarily the most academically gifted or talented students. So really, you're just trading one mechanism of favoritism for another, and one that's far less accountable by social pressure. Because, you know, you can sort of, like, lean on your peers and pressure them a little bit. You can't do that with teachers when you're a student, at least not without going to some pretty extreme lengths. Does Alia necessarily have to take an opposing viewpoint? Okay, yeah, so she is opposing it. That's, kind of like an uphill battle, I'd imagine. Because at least Taniyama Like, she made a reasonable point. I feel like Alia would have to, essentially make the claim that, like, there would be no point in electing people otherwise. And, I guess, thinking about it a little bit, like, this argument makes more sense if there is actual sovereignty involved, but if it's, like, student council stuff, frankly, the whole thing's just kind of stupid anyways. So I guess that's probably a good line of attack, that the right to choose officers is chief among what the student council gets to do, and if, you take that away, then what is the point? Now, I can't help but notice that everybody's being rather dry about this, both Alia herself and the audience. Like, I guess it probably isn't the time and the place for political mudslinging, but, it would be a bit more entertaining. Maybe she could insinuate that Taniyama only wants the motion to pass so that, a teacher would choose her to be an officer, because clearly she's not going to win based on her own charisma. Something like that, like a dig at her. Like that, maybe it wouldn't go over well with the audience, but it would be very funny, which is more important for me, the viewer. Yeah, so at this point we've got two solid arguments that nobody's particularly lukewarm about, and therefore everything's a big stalemate. Like, do they just keep going back and forth, talking and dismantling each other's arguments? Because, okay, it is well and truly a debate. They were just giving opening statements. Alright. Okay, so Taniyama is talking about a hypothetical downturn in performance, which, that's not an evidence right yet. Okay, so Taniyama seems a little bit shaken. Or maybe not shaken, but slightly annoyed now, so hopefully she'll go off script, so to speak, and just start slinging mud. I mean, she's talking about what if the president and vice president abuse their power? Like, to what end? It is a school, it's not anything sovereign or important. Like, you're acting like teachers don't have any say at all. Of course, Ali is also screwing the pooch by, taking a little bit too long to respond and, having that deer in the headlights look. So the question is, does she flounder here, or does Kuze intervene, or what? Oh, okay, he's tagging in. Like, alright. I was kind of hoping this wouldn't be the case. Because, what's the point then? He's supposed to be the vice president in the background. And he's degrading her in front of the audience by saying, like, oh, your vocal cords aren't used to talking this much, ha ha ha. I mean, I guess he's lucky he's comparatively charismatic, but... Okay. So he's making an appeal that the current president used to be a slacker, but is now, a good president, essentially. See, this isn't mudslinging, necessarily, but this is sort of like the approach that I wish Alia would have taken. So, I find it interesting that this has devolved from a debate into a monologue. There wasn't structure in regards to, when people can reply and refute and all that, but, Kuze is just being allowed to talk essentially without contest. what's the point in actually calling it a debate? Wow. Just like that, the moderator's like, yeah, closing statements time. Oh my god, and Taniyama is so utterly defeated that she ran off stage. Like, Kuze didn't even, like, call her pejoratives or anything. Like, wow. You know, this is the outcome I was hoping for, but I wish we had gotten here by, like, Alia calling her a slag or something. Or, like, insinuating she performs favors for people or something. Like, this is almost nothing. So, I'm wondering, like, is Taniyama disappointed that Kuze's not working with Suo? Like, is that the deal here? Okay, so this seems counterintuitive, that she's like, yeah, like, Kuze and Suo, they're good together, that's why I lost, but I guess now that she's competing with other people, she has to contend with her own inadequacies, which I guess, you know, no one really would want to do that, but, like, do you think so poorly of Alia that, like, man, imagine being so incredibly broken by a lukewarm debate. Honestly, Alia at this point should start bullying her mercilessly. Like, bully her until she cries, and then bully her for crying. Like, I mean, I guess to put a fine point on it, this is truly not student council behavior. You know what? I guess there's the other thing. Like, Taniyama, initiated this debate, and she ran out of it crying. Like, man. You know what? I do think she is probably right to feel inadequate. If I were in her boots, I don't think I would show up to school the next day. Man. So I guess at least Alia's not responsible for making her feel better and all that. At least her vice president stepped up, but I suppose if nothing else, good on Alia for trying to talk some sense into her, even if it isn't necessarily working. Wow. I feel like that's almost more rude than anything I suggested, where she's just like, you know, hey, we'll beat you so badly that you'll conclude I'm as good as Suo. It's like, wow. Okay. You know, I guess that's sort of like a roundabout way of saying, like, Kuze and I are right for each other, but man. So Suo, I think this really does cement that she is the best character, because she's saying her brother was soft. And you know what? He was. He could have absolutely dumpstered Taniyama anytime he wanted to, but, you know, he took a roundabout approach. Alright. Alright, Suo is right here. You know, you have to condescend to your opponents, and, like, your whole approach has to be proving you're superior to them. You have to talk down to them, you have to look down on them. You basically have to bully them in every way but, you know, out and out name calling. You know, something tells me that Suo might have a bit of an anchor around her neck in the form of her maid here. Something tells me she's gonna be like a gaff machine, like, God forbid, what if during the debate she declares that her womb is quivering again? Woo, buddy, that would be bad. Oh, that would be bad for her. That would be funny. Well, at least Alia is re-energized by all of this. She now has to prove that she was the right choice of a running mate, even though it's really the other way around. Kuze is the running mate. Ooh. Alright, we're finally getting somewhere. Finally asking a pertinent question. Why did you decide to run with me? And... oh, okay. That's kind of a lame answer. You know, he ran with Yuki previously because he couldn't turn her down. I guess the idea here is that, you extrapolated he couldn't turn down Alia either. But, he's not saying that yet. I feel like, maybe he should say something like, I really just wanted to run with you. Okay. So he's saying that he's essentially motivated by guilt. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, I suppose. If you have... well, maybe there is. It's not... it's good to feel guilty if you deserve to, but it's not good to be guilty. But I suppose if you're motivated by guilt to become better, then... that's not a bad thing. Although I guess... there's that slight confession there. I did want to run with you, not out of guilt or anything. So, alright then, come on, say something in Russian now. We're due for it, I think. Wow, okay, so they're just sort of dancing around the issue again. But, man, she's not hiding her feelings. Oh, okay. That's meaningful. She said something and, it wasn't translated for us, which means it must be important. Yeah, despite his protest performatively, I get the feeling he does know precisely what she meant. Ooh. Wow, actual confirmation of cup size. Barely any cup. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.